You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Cynthia Toolin-Wilson on my show, Author to Author. Today, I'm here with Elaine Weismann, and we are going to talk about great ideas. So let me start with a prayer, and then we'll get right to it. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Okay.
Nice to see you again.
Yep, same.
What I thought I'd start with, it's called the Center for the Study of the Great Ideas.
The great
ideas. Don't X and the, then it's just great ideas. Anybody's great idea. So it started in 1990, and it was can you say a coalition? It was a combined effort of Dr. Mortimer Adler and my husband, Max Weismann. It's the only website that was sanctioned by Dr. Adler. So we have all the DVDs on there and PDFs and firing line and everything we have. We're adding all the time. And it's under the word store. And there's also a section for signing up for membership. And so what they wanted to do, and I don't know if you know Dr. Adler, but he was philosopher, educator, book writer like crazy. I've got tons of his material, which is for journals that we send out every Tuesday for members. And sometimes more. And what I'm looking forward to is being able to do meetings like this, where we all discuss, because that's really the heart of it, is the discussion after you read. Because without that, you're not expressing anything. You don't see yourself talking about it. You just got it in your head, and maybe it's not going to come out exactly the way you thought it would when you start talking.
Right.
So my husband and I have been to Aspen when he had his meetings there, and he was very predominant in Aspen at that time, which was back in the middle 90s. Right now, Aspen's a little bit different. Unfortunately, it's caught up with what's going on, and it gets a little more liberal in that sense. But they were great meetings that he had there, like 20 people in the room. So it was all very exciting. And in the back of on the wall in my husband's office was this quote, which is basically what the center is after and what they came up with. So I'm just going to read it because I certainly didn't memorize it. The only standard we have for judging all of our social, economic, and political institutions and arrangements as just or unjust, as good or bad, as better or worse, derives from our conception of the good life for man on earth, and from our conviction that given certain external conditions, it is possible for men to make good lives for themselves by their own efforts. So it's returning everybody to, if there's a target, then we should know what we're aiming at. You'll miss, but the idea is that you have something to aim at, and most people don't. So,
that's true.
Yeah. So it always looks like a dartboard, and you're throwing it, and that target is what you're after. Well, if you don't know there's a target and you don't know what's on it, you're helter-skelter.
Yeah.
And both of them were very in favor of critical thinking, which Dr. Adler was so upset about that he developed the PIDEA program, PIDAEIA. which means children in Greek, but it's basically to reformulate education, period, away from what it is now. Instead of just telling kids what to think, you get them into thinking about the things they're going to think about and start to examine them instead of just being like a sponge and saying, oh, I know what Nietzsche said. But what does it mean? How do you take that? And that was his redoing of the education system. Right now, of course, it doesn't, you won't find it in many places. But it's probably why people are sending their kids to private schools, like Catholic schools, which even though I'm not Catholic, I'm Orthodox. My father said, you're going to Catholic schools and you'll be happy that I'm sending you there. And I can't tell you how happy I was because what an education I got.
Yeah.
Wonderful teachers. And grammar school was still all right, but there was something very special about the nuns, as far as I was concerned, because they were so dedicated. And that's what they cared about. And there was a lot less drama in that sense. You were there to learn. That was it.
Yep.
So don't come if you don't have. So so they set up a membership where you would get for students and friends, and then there were participants and also the patron. The one for 100 and 250, you'll get a choice of videos that are exclusive to the center. For the 100, you get one free video of your choice, and then there's 2 for the other. And you can also add somebody that you would like while you're paying for your membership to get their own membership too. Not their own membership, but their own journals. And then hopefully they would sign up. So it's been quite a test of maintaining and sustaining your energy, because he passed away February 22nd in 2017. And Dr. Adler passed away in the beginning of 2001. So that left me with the ship. And just like manning a ship, there you are. And plus you're trying to get over what just happened. So it's been a while, and there's a lot of things we have left to do. I mean, the website was one, improving the website, getting the Zoom meetings, getting marketing done. We've had a lot of increase in memberships this year. So marketing is very important. And I have to get on that. And right now it's me and the help of like Sebastian gives me guideposts or guidelines or ideas of who to contact. Because sometimes you literally are like on a ship in the middle of the sea and storms come and there you are. I thought I knew what I was doing. Well, I guess not. We better go the other way. So, do you have any questions about the kind of subjects?
No, Go ahead.
Well, it goes back when you start with it. Dr. Adler was very Aristotelian. So you're taking from Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. You're going all the way back there. And they did a pretty good job of enlightening people to what was, it's hard to believe that, because you think every millennium is a different story, but it's all the same.
Human nature.
And so that's where it begins, the study of those things. And my husband went to he was basically more along architecture and drawing and things. And his boss took him when he was like 20 to a Great Books meeting where they discussed, to this day, I'm not sure exactly. I thought it was Plato. And he had not even gone to a school like I went. He was never aware of any of this because he went to a school for hands-on, more hand welding, things like that. And he was blown away. He said, the most important thing besides how dumb I was that I realized I could do anything I wanted. That the world was open to me, because he was kind of frozen in what was happening. You get married, you have 2 kids, that's blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, the world opened to him. That's how he felt about it. And so he always kept Adler near in his mind. And then when we finished with our printing business, 1900, I'm a little, we're kind of young, huh? In 1990, he made communication with Adler, who happened at that time lived 2 blocks from us. So he went and talked to him and all that, and they formed a partnership, and we started giving seminars. Adler's by now in his middle 80s. So he needed a little help on the stage. But it was at the Cultural Center, to give an example, and it was packed. People they really are hungering for somebody to start talking sense to them, so they can start thinking sensibly instead of, well, this is what it is and that's it. Kids don't think that. I mean, I hate to say, I never thought I would do this and say, in my day, I never thought I'd talk like that. But in my day, there was a curiosity and a wanting to learn. And I don't know was not a big answer. Go find the answer then. What do you mean I don't know? We never said that. Well, find it. Today, it's I don't know and period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They want you to tell them.
The other day I called UPS and the kid says I was down the chat. I said, I just want to know if Loxana, Kansas is the closest missions, Kansas. Could you say that another way? I said, another way for that? You don't like that? Well, I'm kind of new. Okay. I thought, how should I say this? I said, well, there's Lenaxa, Kansas, Lenaxa, which was what my label said, but you delivered it to something missions in Kansas. Are they kind of like the same? Can you say it another way?
Oh my God.
Honest to God. And I said, no, I can't. I don't know how else to say it. And he said, well, I'm kind of new. I said, but I'm not asking you about anything UPS. I'm asking you about the state. No, it'd be better if you called back and got somebody else. I thought, where am I?
The Twilight Zone.
Well, it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Yep.
And we have tapes that we're exclusive to us. They're 20-minute to 30-minute tapes, and they run the whole gamut from, they were done in the maybe 50s, but it's black and white, and you know the kind of recording they did then. It's Adler talking to the camera. I'm sorry if I say Adler, I'm just used to that. Talking to the camera about subjects that range from war and peace and opinion and philosophy, all of those, and he does 20 to 30 minutes on. Those are exclusive to us, and there's 22 of them. So when I say you get a free video, it's from that.
Yeah.
But it's a direct, why waste them? And this is what he had. He had a business called Philosophical Research, the Institute in California. And that's where he did a lot of those. So they're owned by him. And I don't care how old they are, they're still current.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The thing to do after you see them is then to talk about it, which I have not had a Zoom yet, but I do want them. And there's things we have to improve on the website. But he also was very prolific on books. I think there was 53 books. He died at about 100, and he died in California. But he didn't start out in philosophy. He started out, I believe it was culinary. He never finished high school.
Oh, my.
He left and worked for the newspaper in New York Times, I think. And he did go to college, but he didn't get a degree. I think it was Columbia, because he wouldn't take the swimming exam.
Mm.
So that's open-ended. But what he did was he wanted to dedicate himself to something he liked, and he ended up with psychology, experimental psychology. And that was my beginnings with psychology. And then he met John Erskine, and it changed everything for him because he loved the philosophy he was hearing. And so that became his mainstay. Mm-hmm. And then Robert Hutchins, who was president of the University of Chicago way back when, he was 30 years old, he wanted to hire him to come there because he didn't know anything about philosophy or what books to read. He'd never heard of the ones that he had. So he wanted him to come and set up the great books.
Right.
Which made Hutchins read everything that he did, and therefore they were together. But they had the same resistance you have today. Teachers didn't like that idea. Mm-hmm. They wanted to keep doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And what do you mean you're going to study? We're going to do that. We don't want to do that. But Hutchins was the president, and so he said, you're going to do that. Mm-hmm. And so they had a lot of meetings and with students. And Dr. Adler was not a milquetoast. Mm-hmm. You had to, don't just sit there. What do you think of what I just said? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Well, I had the thought about it. Well, think about it. And that's really tried to do, is get people involved. And it was very successful. And that's where the great books came from. Because he chose the ones. And then he also did the Syntopicon, which is his favorite work, which is all about different ideas put together. And we have one, Syntopicon, on a DVD where you can actually put the word in and it'll find it in whatever subject you're talking about. It'll just find that word. If you want to know freedom, it'll be there.
Yeah.
That took like 5 or 6 years of maybe 15 men working, philosophy people working on the Syntopicon. That was his favorite work. Mm-hmm. And both of them were affected highly by Plato when they started. Have you read Plato and all that?
When I was in college, I'm 73 now, so that would have been 50 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I read your book, and I tell you, it is the most incredible book I've ever read. How you come out just normal. You look normal to me.
Well, I had
What?
I had to have a lot of surgery. I had facial reconstruction twice.
From
because of the, because of whatever it is she took, it just messed up my face. So I had facial reconstruction surgical twice, but I'm okay.
You're fine. And I appreciate you doing this.
Oh, no problem. I love to do this sort of thing.
Oh, I know.
I love talking to interesting people about interesting ideas,
I'm like that too. And I find out more than other people do. And they say, my husband used to say, I've known the guy for 10 years and I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I said, well, because you're talking. Mm-hmm. And you're listening to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to what he's saying. So it becomes more interesting and you get more people want to talk. Yeah. They really do want to talk. And I was telling Sebastian, I said, as far as that goes, I should have my own show where I could just talk. Mm-hmm. But, I was making kind of a joke there. But I have your book here. Mm-hmm. And I know that they published it for you en route. It says Survivor, a Memoir of Forgiveness.
Yes.
Cynthia Toolin-Wilson. Mm-hmm. By the way, I wondered, is this you or your mother?
That's my mother. My mother and father were both models.
Yeah.
And she was, I guess she was beautiful.
Yeah.
On the inside, she sure wasn't. But but yeah, so yeah, I don't even know how you describe it. It's not bad enough that she tried to abort me and told me, but it's the side effects of all of that knowledge when you're a kid, It's
Or you
like,
don't know what to do with it.
yeah, yeah. But, I look at it this way. I turned out all right. And I didn't turn out all right because of her, that's for sure. But I did turn out all right. So that's really what matters.
Well, her judgment.
Yeah.
I'm that way. I don't care what other people say, unless I respect them and I want their judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I want what they think. Even if it's critical, I don't care.
Yeah.
But not somebody I don't respect.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want to hear it. It's just,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, if she hadn't told me all the things she told me, it would have been better. I would have had a better life, because I got to tell you, that was a knockdown, boy. So the thing that was really bad was when she told me she stopped taking the medicine or the chemical, whatever it was.
To abort?
Yeah. And I said to her, "Why did you stop?" And she said, "Because when I started to bleed, I was afraid I might die too." I never cared about her after that, because I realized that her concern was not that she was going to kill me.
Yeah, she came to her senses or something. Yeah.
She didn't want to die.
What
So, yeah, I took care of both my parents when they were old. If there's anything I try to do the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing is very difficult.
Well, it is
really difficult.
It's almost, when I went to a therapist after my, at a certain point in my life, and he said to me in the first meeting, he was a great guy, didn't watch the clock. Money was what you could afford. He was really decent.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, "Do you think most people try to do the right thing?" And I said, "Well, I think they try, but they don't usually succeed." And he said, "And you'd be wrong." I said, "Really?" He said, "Most people do not try to do the right thing.
Really?
They do what's expedient." Yeah. He said they do what's expedient. They do what's wrong, what they want, or what'll get them where they're going. But it means self-sacrifice. They'd rather not do that. But that might be the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You're one of the few people that I see that in." And he said, made me laugh. He said, "It's lonely at the top." I said, "It's not much better at the bottom either," where I've been. And he started laughing, but he said, "It's very rare." I said, "I only wish I had heard that before." Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why I feel that way or believe that way, but I have always, my entire life, tried to do the right thing. Now, that doesn't mean I was always right, but I tried to do the right thing.
That's right.
Yeah, but
we might be. Oh, that's true. But you're looking for the right.
Yeah.
Most people, and then I realized, why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't I learn that years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that people tried, but then I realized, who's going to tell them what's right if they don't even think about anything but themselves?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So how do they know what's right?
Mm-hmm.
But I bet most people would say, "Oh yeah, I try to do the right." I wish I had known that, because things that happened and I was believing they were different than they were.
Yeah.
And that was sad. Right?
Yeah.
It was a sad truth.
Mm-hmm. In the end, I took care of both of them until they were pretty much gone. And it was difficult, because my mother was one of the most miserable people, personality wise. In fact, I think she is the most miserable person that I have ever known. Constant criticism, constant complaining. I mean, constant. And, it brought a lot of trouble into my marriage. With my first husband, he died of, with the kids and everything, because it was always an uproar. But it was like, what do you do? It's the right thing to take care of these people, even if they are miserable, unhappy, critical, and tried to kill you. You still
Yeah,
have
right.
to do the right thing.
Well, you really do deserve an award. But my mother had it. She said it this way, because I was kind of not in the same boat though. Not the people weren't like that.
Yeah.
But I ended up being people say, well, you don't have any children. I said, believe me, I had my brother and my sister, older and younger. It was like my children. I had to watch out for them too. And I'm married. And my mother said she started us very young at taking care of herself. Like, you have beautiful skin. I'm sitting here and you don't even have any makeup on.
No, I never.
Somehow that's great. And so 10 years old, she said, this is what you do, and be careful, because no matter what they come up with in the future, they're never going to give you your skin back. So take care of it. And then she said, however, that's the outside.
Yeah.
If you are on the inside, if you don't take care of that, it's going to come out on your face. Oh my goodness. You know.
Oh, she's
right. I
right.
remembered that, and I thought, I wonder how true that is. And then I met some people, you know, aunts that I didn't like. They look kind of scrappy, and they weren't nice, and it showed.
Yeah.
And she said it'll show on your face. I thought, I better be good. But she went too soon for me to do much with her. But my sister and brother, tried to save them. Sister, yes. Brother, no. Couldn't save them. But they all died with me. My brother, 2 years later, my sister, and then my husband.
Yeah, both husbands died in front of me. That was just lovely.
No, I had that too. But they were, did either one of them mellow with the end?
The second husband was ideal. You know, I had no complaints about that man at all. I really, really loved him, and he really, really loved me. And we did grow into one person. The first husband was a good man. He was a good Catholic, but he was hard. You know, it's like everything had to be a certain way, you know, because he lived the rules of Catholicism, but he interpreted them. This was before I was Catholic. He interpreted them in a rigid way. And it really made life miserable. But
really?
Go
ahead.
Yeah, you know, if you don't hurry up, you're gonna be a minute late for mass. What do you think God thinks if you're a minute late for mass?
Oh, that kind of stuff.
You know, that kind of thing. Oh my word. And it would be every day, every week, you know, but so it wasn't like he was hard like mean, but he was hard like judgmental.
Hard on himself too, I would imagine. Well,
no, because
maybe not.
Right.
Because he was. But I've always said, it came to me one night, people practice being a good Catholic. Well, there's the rules. Okay, to follow that. That's easier than being a good Christian. But they all opt for the other. Oh, I'm a good Catholic. I follow all this and blah 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 blah. But you stink as a Christian. You're not good at that part.
Yeah.
Which is harder.
That's an interesting point. I've known a lot of people that do follow all the rules, and they really believe them, and they try to do the right thing. Those are people I consider, you know, they've got a spiritual life too.
Right, spiritual is important. Yeah.
I don't think my husband had my first husband.
I don't think so either.
He just had rules that had to be followed every minute. But you know, God bless him. He died a bad death with esophageal cancer. He bled out. And I was holding him. And I tried to do the right thing. I held him in my arms until he was dead. And then I put him down and, you know, took care of the funeral thing. And then my
How sincere. That's because you're sincere.
Yeah.
Sincerely. Because that's from the heart. Honesty is, I always say, is from the brain.
Yeah.
I take somebody who's sincere any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because with the heart, it's hard to lie to it. But I used to love to give my mother back things that I learned in Catholic school, which, you know, we were once one church. And one morning, nobody wanted to go to church because we were all lazy, basically. And she came in and she said, "Time, we're going to church today." So I said, "Now, you know, I read that it's okay if you pray in your closet." God doesn't require you to come to church with all the other people. And I thought I had it, right? She looked at me.
Right, not.
And she looked at me and she said, get dressed. That was the end of that idea. Yep. But it was in the book. Said I didn't have to, you pray in your bathroom. Pray in your bathroom.
Well, yes, you're still supposed to go to Mass.
What?
Yes, that's true, but you're still supposed to go to Mass.
Yeah. Well, they weren't as hard as you people in terms of if you missed so many, you were like out, right?
Really?
If you didn't go to Mass, I thought if you missed too much, you were, no?
Oh, confession.
Oh,
and start over. Confession is a wonderful thing. The first time I heard of it, I thought, oh, brother, I'm not going to tell the priest everything. But, I found that it does have, I feel cleaner leaving than going. I may not feel dirty going in, but I feel cleaner leaving. It's weird. And the priests that I've gone to confession with have been exceptional men. So I have no qualms about that. I should probably professional.
Well, see, we don't have it as often.
Oh,
we don't give communion except on one day, which is Sunday. Yeah. It's the bread and the wine, which I always like. And I never got sick. Out of the same chalice, same spoon. So in any case, you did not have to, they didn't want you to go to confession too much, because then you get used to it and you walk out like, oh, I can do that again and go back. That happened a lot in high school. Girls would say, oh, I feel so wonderful. I only have 3 Hail Marys and 3. And I looked at them and they were so relieved that now they felt they could do it again. So sometimes it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. Well, I can see where children would feel that way, or young people, but obviously that's not the way it's supposed to work.
But there's always a screen, am I right? You always have. Do you ever see it? You don't see it.
You can go face to face.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can go face to face if you want to. I've never wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The reason I don't want to go face to face is not because this person will know who it is that committed these sins. It's because I'm going to be looking at the priest and thinking about the priest and not thinking about God.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought of that as a good thing, because I'm used to, I've only gone a couple of times, and that was, I was sitting with the priest on the backside of because you can't go in the altar. There's an area over here, like on the side. And even basically, as I remember, it was like, have you done anything against your parents and things like that? But I didn't have a lot to say. But, Dr. Adler started out, well, he was Jewish. And he married an Episcopalian woman the first time. He was married to her, I think, for 30 years, and he had 2 adopted sons. And then he went through a depression. He writes it in his book. And he met Caroline, who was probably 25 years younger or more. And he married her, and she was Episcopalian, and they had 2 natural children, both boys, all boys. And he wanted to become a Catholic when he was ready. He kept gearing for that. He didn't want to stay an Episcopalian, which is very different. I mean, I don't know. What were you before?
Jewish.
You were Jewish? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was, but I was non-practicing, so it was pretty much not, it was not, of course I was young, so it was not anything that I really participated in to any great extent. It was more cultural.
Yeah,
but anyway, so he didn't want to stay Episcopalian?
Well, that's, I don't know. I know enough about it to say that it's kind of the unreligion religion. You know what I'm saying? In terms of demands.
Oh.
they're much freer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the same follow, like ours has a lot of tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the first with you. It was the first church, and then they had the 12 go out
Yeah.
to different places.
Mm-hmm.
And Rome then became the center of the marketing, world commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Constantine, who was the head of Rome, and then his mother was Helen,
Mm-hmm.
who loved Christianity, and I don't
Yeah.
remember the years, but wanted him to adopt it, so we have them as saints.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the change. But it was basically, I think, in 1066, or 1266, when the rift came.
Mm-hmm.
There were several things, but probably the biggest one and the biggest stumbling block even today is the infallibility of the Pope.
Yeah,
that doesn't agree on that.
Yeah, I have no doubt that the Pope is infallible under certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's fallible every moment of every day, but when he's talking about something, especially, when he's talking officially as Pope.
Yeah, ex cathedra.
Yeah. So if you look at, the kinds of things they say in their encyclicals, but the popes are not always infallible. I mean, they make mistakes like everybody else. But when I read the writing of the popes, I mean, there is no way that this just comes out of a man's mind. The ideas are so elevated, the thoughts are so elevated, and everything fits together like a seamless garment. And it's like, that's not coming from all these different men over all these centuries. That has got to be coming from the Holy Spirit. And so, yeah. And, so they'll write when something's going wrong. Like, I like Catholic social teaching because my original degrees were in sociology. So I'm very interested in Catholic social teaching. I read, when you read Pope Francis and he talks about, these issues, it's like, this guy knows what's going on. He's old, he's sick, he's in Rome. He knows what's going on here in the United States and everywhere else. And he gives good guidance because he talks about the things that exist. For instance, the whole thing about, ecological issues, it's like, everyone's like, why is the Pope talking about this? Because if we don't
seen that criticism a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which in itself is wrong. These people are not the Pope. The Pope is the Pope. If he's going to talk about something God thinks he should talk about, then I think you ought to just shut up and listen. But I mean, it's true because, I was reading it and it's like he's talking about the number of species that are dying because of man. And the one example, the big skyscrapers, they leave the lights on at night. And birds, take that for the day. Whole species of birds have died by flying into these towers.
Yeah.
It's like, how about you just put a light up on top so that the airplanes know it's there and the helicopters know it's there and turn the rest of the lights out?
Yeah, but that's simple.
And so it's like, what's important about that? Well, for one thing, God made creation and it included these bird species that are now gone.
Yes.
So, when I read the things that they write, it's like, that isn't something that comes out of the human mind alone. They know
these windmills kill birds like crazy. The windmills and the windmills.
Yeah.
Kill birds like crazy, and they block in Greece. They block the water, the Mediterranean, and look what they're doing to the whales.
Yeah, I know.
How can you see a dead animal like that? And they're mammals. How can you see that and say, well, the end justifies the means? Is how they think. It has to be. But they don't want you to think that.
Yeah.
So you to think they care.
Yeah. But ultimately, when I read something and again, when he talks about the systems in the world and how we're affecting them, the natural systems, it's like, I just don't know how anybody can look at that and say, why is he talking about that? I mean, you can see it's the truth if you have an open mind.
Of course.
And when you see how much he writes about other things, it's like, where's all of that coming from? Unless he has a brain that's as big as a room, he's getting
But
help from God.
he has the idea, though.
Yeah.
It must be his idea.
Not necessarily. I
No?
mean, I think God often tells people he doesn't say, all right, you write about this, but he can certainly inspire us about what we should be doing and and part of that is writing for professionals. So when
He
you look at
got
someone
political, and I know he got a lot of back. Things.
Yeah. Well,
he stepped a little too close to politics, but
politics are a problem.
Huh?
Politics are a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
they need to be discussed.
Yeah.
There needs to be some kind of boundaries to what people can say about each other and what people can do. And, that's not necessarily supporting one system over the other, but it's like, if you have a political system that's corrupt, because of certain things being incorrectly perceived, it's right to talk out about that.
Mm-hmm.
And because in my belief system, and I don't know what your organization.
I'll let you know when you tell me.
Yeah, but I think what's important is God gave us brains. We know right from wrong.
We do.
Now, yeah, we do. I mean, I can't believe that anybody would say, it's okay to just, kill all the whales or kill all the birds. Maybe they're not particularly caring about it, but they're not going to say it's right. People need direction. And that's one of the things that the Pope does. Because, people have the time to sit down and read about all these world affairs, all these political affairs, and what are we going to do? It's like you need guidance. And
some of these people are so far gone in their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That if you stood on a dead whale and said, "Look what you've done,"
mm-hmm.
Nothing would register. It would make me sick. But they don't have it. They don't have it inside. Where are they going to get it? But I mean, I think those people are beyond.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important for a pope or for, any body of the church to talk out about things like that, including ecology. It's, some people just don't care. Some people have no conscience. There's no question. But that doesn't mean that the words shouldn't be spoken with authority so that people that do care can see it. And that to me is one of the big functions of the magisterium. They see things in ways that the normal person doesn't.
No, that's right.
And that's coming from someplace else, to me.
Yes, that's right. It's almost devilish.
Mm-hmm.
It scares me because it can travel and grasp so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't talk to people who won't, if they're on the other side, way on the other side. I can't talk to them because they don't really have information. It's not based on information. They just like that. They just want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of thinking is that? The whole idea is that you examine what they're saying to you. Why don't you want to examine it?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they afraid? To look at something. Would they make a deal with the devil? It almost seems like they do.
Well, I don't think they literally do. But people just, part of it is that they don't always see the consequences, or they're blind, or they don't understand. It's, it's just really unfortunate that
Yeah.
people stopped, to a great extent, people have stopped thinking. What they think is that every opinion is equally important. That's what
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is going on.
Well,
I think. I
makes
just
me
don't know, but
what
that's
makes
what,
me cringe is when I hear them saying my truth.
yes.
Oh, drives me crazy.
Yes,
I
I
wish
know.
I was there to say, well, what do you mean by that? Nobody ever asked them. They
Yeah.
accept it. I would say, what truth is this? I don't have the same one, obviously. What
Well,
is your
which
truth?
one of you is wrong.
One of you's got to be wrong, and I
Yeah,
know it's you,
right.
not me.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're saying the same thing to you, though.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
cousin and I made a deal
Hmm.
after the first talking about politics,
Hmm.
and we can't talk about
Yeah.
it. Can't.
Well,
And
yeah,
even if
politics.
she improves, she's going to have to come back to me because I don't want to begin to have trouble in a
Mhm.
relationship because of politics. But I
Mhm.
really don't understand how she can think. I mean, she said to me, she was a teacher for her whole life. And she said to me, well, what's wrong with one person in charge? I said, what? One person?
Like a
One
monarchy.
party?
Yeah.
You mean like Putin? Well, I said, well, who are you going to go to when you don't agree with them? Not
Hmm.
that we can do that now. I mean, it's really crazy. But I said, you've got one guy and
Hmm.
he's making the rules. Do you want that? That's not what's in the Constitution.
Hmm.
It's in Russia, maybe in China, but it's not here. Isn't that what you liked about it here?
Hmm.
Doesn't work. Does not
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I like the democratic system that we have. I just wish that people wouldn't be so influenced by the personality of the men or women as
Yes,
opposed
that's true.
to ideas.
That's
And
right.
that's a serious problem because somebody can have a dynamic personality and be a total idiot where other things are concerned. But they
Absolutely.
both have personality. So I look at Biden and it's like, I am so tired of hearing people say, oh, he's so old, he's so tired. He's a good man. To assume that,
By what?
hmm?
What's good for there? How do you define good in his? Well, not
Well,
in his, but
he's
good period.
I consider him very good. I consider that he is concerned about people. I think that he wants to do the right thing, and he's certainly attempted to do that. But yes, he's old and he's tired. But what I hear from people is he's too old. He's too tired. It's like, why don't you address the issue you're really talking about? You don't like his policies, you
Yes,
know?
that's really what it is, of course.
Yeah. But that's not what they do. They go after demographics. And
Well, I don't feel that way. I don't care if he can pick up a chair he's sunning in or not walk with it at all. I don't care. I don't care if he falls.
oh,
Policies are what bother me.
yeah. See, yeah, well, people have different political ideas.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, I look at the same thing with Trump. It's like, half of the country wants to, like, I don't know, do what? Put him in prison or something. And the
Yeah.
other half thinks he's the new Messiah. Well, he's
Right.
neither. He's neither. Look at what he wants to do. And can he do those things? Or should he do those things? So it's like they get caught up in the personality, and that's wrong.
Of
You
course.
know?
And they've done that. Kennedy was nice looking, but he was really bought. He
Yeah.
was bought and sold. And then he made mistakes they didn't like. And even Nixon.
Hmm.
He was gone because they decided. I never realized the one thing I can share with you and Trump. He
Hmm.
did open the box,
Hmm.
Pandora's box, and he did
Yep.
let out all. I didn't know it was this bad. I never knew it was that bad myself.
Hmm.
I really didn't. I think when I started to see the holes was the Vietnam War. When I saw my brother getting drafted,
Hmm.
my parents thought it was like the World War II. I said, no, 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 this is not like World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He's going into a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even have to make his bed. What is he going to do in a swamp? I mean, he's not going to be there long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she said they'll release him. I said, no, we'll come back in a box.
Oh.
I give it 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to go. So I said, do you want to go to jail? Do you want to go to Canada? He said, no, I'm just going to take a lot of stuff that'll make me a little wacky, and they won't want me. And that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He took some Quaaludes, but
Mm.
and that made him. I guess it worked because he didn't go, but so
Yeah.
many of them came back unappreciated,
Mm-hmm.
and it made them mentally. It was very bad, and it was never. And the length of the damn thing.
Yeah, I know.
You go in and do it and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think you have to have a strong foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But you also have to have a strong foreign policy that's good. And
yeah,
yeah. So to me, the thing that's missing in a lot of what we see is fairness and justice and compassion and charity. I mean, people on the other side of the world or wherever we're having a disagreement, it's like the people, not the politicians or the government, but the people themselves will suffer. And we need to look at that before we start doing something, just like we can suffer. They're human beings. And I think we forget that. It's like, oh, they're the Russians. Oh, they're the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see. But that's how they were painted.
Yeah.
I always wondered why we were there. What the heck are we doing over here?
Yeah.
And it's a communist country now, which is what we went to.
Mm-hmm. But I of course, when I was young, I listened to all the things going on in Vietnam. I worked at Holy Apostles College and Seminary, and we brought over, I don't know, maybe 50 over the years of Vietnamese students to train as priests, brothers, sisters. They are the nicest people.
They are. I've got
kind. Now, I know that the ones that were soldiers probably weren't because they were buying into what they were told. But it's like I was talking to one of the sisters one day who I was very friendly with. And, she had mentioned the war. I mean, they just referred to it as the war. So I guess it was very bad. But, yeah, for them, including the civilians.
And for them, too, yes. We should never, I don't think we should have been. You're going to stop communists? That's what Kennedy said.
You can't stop an ideology. But when I talked to that woman who was a sister, she's not too far younger than me. And she said, what the Americans did was terrible. And I said, I don't know what the Americans did because I only read the newspaper. And that, of course, was written by Americans. So tell me.
Yeah.
And she said that one of the things that was done was that, little girls would get out of school. They're going to walk home. They're walking in a line. Plane would come in and blow the back of their heads off, all of them, and they'd fall to the ground. Now, why go after children that are coming home from school? And everybody says, oh, no, Americans would never do that. Really?
No.
Yeah. So,
we have an unreal perception of what this country. I mean, there were some great presidents, but there were some really.
Yeah, I don't think that the average American goes around doing bad things. I mean, sure, we all sin. Everybody sins. We have original sin. But I just didn't have a picture of American soldiers killing little kids for the heck of it.
Well, because a lot of those little kids carried bombs on them.
But they weren't near them. They were
I know.
For them.
You get paranoid after a while. I mean, I think that, I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying that's what happened. Yeah. They get scared.
Yeah.
So now we have cartels shipping them out. Or whatever. Adler always said, he said it's a shame that unlike science, where they share improvements with one another.
Mm-hmm.
They tell each other, and and then they get some idea of, well, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best. He said, we never do that in philosophy. Philosophers do not talk to one another. They have their own way of looking at it, and that's it. He said, we should have a round table of philosophers who want to, isn't there something that we all can say is a good idea that we can discuss, that people should be, this should be right in the basis of the philosophy, but nobody wants to. They want their own thing, and they're all very different. Mm-hmm. Some I don't even understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I have to go to lofty people. My husband's lofty, Sebastian can be lofty, but it's like, what is he saying here? Naturally, I don't know what he's saying. And I don't know what he's writing for, but I'm having trouble. Not every philosopher is clear to me.
No, of course not.
But I could read psychology easier of what, that was. But philosophy can escape me, and I'm sure it does other people.
Oh, sure.
But how can you not have one?
You have to be wide awake when you read it.
Oh, yes. Even for Adler, because I checked 2 of his books. What do you call it?
Proofread.
Yeah. And because I'm good with grammar and all that, but I also told him there were parts when he went from one paragraph to another, and this is me. Maybe everybody else doesn't have this. I didn't see how that fed into the second paragraph. I thought, where was that? So I mentioned those things in there, and then he said to me, coming home in the car one night, he said, you know that you found the most errors in my work. And I said, well, that's the highlight of my career, that I could find you an error. I now have done everything I ever wanted to do. And he had a great sense of humor, and so did my husband. But he was funny. He said, because psychology, again, he would ask questions, which I liked about him. And he loved movies, and he loved good food. My husband was a foodie, too. And he said to me, this Alzheimer's, how do you think you really know you have it?
Oh.
And I thought for a minute, and you're going to laugh at this. But this is how I think, because your whole frontal cortex is bye-bye. So, it's pretty bad. I said, well, it's not forgetting. Don't worry about that part. We all forget, and we do it even when we're young. Now, I said, if you come home and you take your shoes and you put them in the refrigerator, and that's where you think they go, and that's important, you think they go in there, you might have a problem.
Yeah.
He started laughing. But it's that serious. I mean, it's totally, you can't really, it's a terrible thing.
It is.
We never heard about it years ago.
I don't think there was much of it.
You don't think? Yeah. I wonder where some things do develop over time. But that's pretty serious when this goes.
Yeah, it is.
So, what?
I know that as we get older, we start to lose things. I mean, I'm certainly not as sharp as I was when I was 40 or 50. But, and I will forget things, but I've not forgotten anything that was crucially important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you go into a room and you wonder why you're there.
Yeah.
That happened. But that happened to me in school, too.
Yeah, that happens. I think that happens through our whole lives. But the difference is the pattern, I think. If all of a sudden you go into a room 50 times in a row and don't know why you're there, okay, something. Yeah. But so it's a difference in frequency and probably in seriousness. I'll forget a lot of things, but I think the fact that I'm working 3 jobs might have something to do with that.
Well, I was going to ask you because I wrote in my comment about you in the book, but I didn't remember what you taught. What do you teach?
I teach Roman Catholic theology. I teach it to, for 28 years, I taught it to seminarians and sisters. to lay people that were going for a degree, and some priests that already had a degree but wanted another master's. So I've taught theology for 28 years. Now I still teach theology, but differently. For instance, I work for Avila Institute. The only thing I teach there, when I teach there, and you don't teach every semester, I teach pneumatology. That's the only thing.
Pneumatology.
Pneumatology, the theology of the Holy Spirit. And then, I also work at Pontifex University as the academic dean, and I do some teaching there. So it's, plus, my husband died. And I mean, that just was really bad.
Sure. It is much worse than.
It takes time.
To put him in order.
Mm-hmm. So, he died, and I'm a far cry from recovered, although I am getting better.
You're far cry from what?
I'm a far cry from absolutely better. I'm not back to. And then, we had a water leak, so I had construction guys here ready for this 2.5 years. That was a little, and I worked 3 jobs.
But doesn't that help you to be working?
Oh, yeah, it helps me to be working, but it's just that, it's just too many changes all at once. Or within 6 months. So, I think that alone, too much change too quickly. If it was little things like, we had to have a driveway put in or something and it was done in a week, that would be fine. But we're talking major house reconstruction due to a flood. So, it's just all big stuff. So, and him dying, him dying was just the worst thing that's ever happened.
It was for me too.
Yeah.
It's to watch it. But I was there, and I'm glad I was there for all 3 of them.
I was there for both husbands. And my second husband, he died easy. It took about 5 seconds.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me.
But still, to have been talking to him, and he was so happy he was going home. He looked like a little boy. He was smiling and going to go home. 5 minutes later, he was dead.
It can turn,
Yeah. It was just a little bit too much stress.
Well, there's a lot of in the hospital when when I first heard this from this girl, I thought I'm going to have to strangle her. That's all. It's made very easy. And I said, I don't know what to do. That was all I said.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend coming to pick me up. I arranged that, and she even talked to her to legitimize it. This is much more involved than hospitals used to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was ready and to go downstairs. Well, I was ready. I was in a daze. I don't, nothing.
Yeah.
And I went downstairs and she assigned a girl to me to be with me. So far, I think everybody's sane. And then the girl said, 2 guys come over and they said, psychologists would like to interview you. I said, for what? Well, they want to make sure you're strong enough to go home. I said, no.
Yeah.
I'm not being interviewed by anybody. In fact, I think you should go.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl came back and I said, why are you here? Well, I don't know if we should let you. I said, is there something wrong with you? I've just lost my husband and you're bothering me now about other stuff. And I said, I made the ride. That's all I had to do. Well, I said, don't well me. I said, because I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call the police station and I'm going to tell them and I'll see what they say. And I did, and they said, if they don't let you out, we'll come and get you.
Mm-hmm.
This is this is helping people? This is insanity. What are you supposed to say? I'm feeling great now. I can go home.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah. I'm done.
Yep.
No.
I know exactly what you mean.
And she's this young kid. And I said, but when I get mad, I said, the more I'm looking at you, the worse I feel. In other words,
go away. Well, when my husband died, I was with a Protestant minister. The priest had.
He wasn't a Catholic?
Oh, he was.
Oh,
that was a story. But I was with this Protestant chaplain, and he was gone, and the priest had been there and given him last rites. And she had come up first. So I was standing there talking to her, and I said, okay, so now what happens? And apparently the undertaker comes or they send, I don't know how the transfer occurs.
Yeah, but they come and get.
Yeah, I did see him in the casket. I knew it was him. So it's like, okay, no mistake there. But, she said to me, what are you going to do now? I said, I'm going to go home. And she said, where do you live? I said, Vermont. And she said, he died in Connecticut. And she said, are you going to drive yourself? I said, yeah. She said, well, are you sure that's wise? And I just looked at her and I said, I know how to drive. I'm going to turn on the radio. I'm going to sing all the way back to Vermont like I always do. And when I get there, I'll let go. But I'm not going to be crying on the highway. I'm not going to be responsible for killing someone else or for myself or for causing property damage. I'm leaving now and I will be fine. And I was.
This person questioning you?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she did not think that I should drive home.
Was she a nurse or a friend?
No, she was a chaplain.
Oh.
Like, aren't you supposed to be talking about God and not telling me I shouldn't drive? But anyway, so I understand there might be some liability issue that makes them talk like that.
It could be, but it wasn't years ago. You didn't have this.
Yeah. So when that was it. It's like, I'm going now. Bye. Thank you for your help.
Well, if you had answered the wrong thing, she might have kept you. He might have kept you. That's what they tried to do. I said, in fact, two big guys.
Yeah.
I said, you can't lay a hand on me. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So go back and tell him that I'm a psych major. And if he wants me to tell him everything he wants to hear, I can do that. But it's a waste of time of what I'm going to answer him. Of course. Yeah. Would you go home and do anything dangerous? Never. That doesn't mean it's the truth. So, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, so they didn't try to stop me physically, but certainly they were concerned that I would do damage. And it's like, I'm standing there having a lucid conversation with these people. So it's like, I'm not exactly sure why they thought I was just going to fall apart the minute I got away from them. Exactly. If anything, I feel better when I got away from them.
That's right. All I said was, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, I didn't mean in terms of whether I take poison or jump off a bridge. That wasn't the decision. It's what I'm going to do without him. Oh, I didn't finish the statement.
Yeah.
And then this strange calm came over me. And it was strange because it almost felt like nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was gone. Everything was fine. It happens to me under great stress. I just get very calm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call up when I'm calling for help. I don't scream. It's like something just takes over. I don't know what it is, but a lady came in and wanted to tell me how sorry she was, and I greeted her.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have done it 5 minutes before.
The thing is, we don't go crazy when something like that happens. We're distraught. But it's not like our common sense and our intelligence has left the room.
Exactly. But they do think that. They do.
Yeah, I know.
the chaplain came in and she said, would you like to stay overnight? And I said, no. She said, and they gave me some medicine to relax me. It was so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I almost slipped and fell and hit my head. And they didn't bother to find out if it was a lead. I don't know what kind of thing it was.
Mm.
And I thought, what are you giving me? I'm going to the washroom. I could have hurt myself.
Yeah.
And then she said, is there anything I can do for you? I said, well, if you could bring him back, that'd be all about it. That'd be about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said that about my mother and my husband.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what more I don't know. I think you're right about the insurance.
Yeah.
There is something that they're worried about, like in the stores with these people coming in. And
Yeah.
you know, what I liked about Adler was that he at one time was a globalist,
Mm-hmm.
and he changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought there could be a world government.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty brief, but he got over that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my husband asking me what I thought, and I said, it won't work. It won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be in charge? You can't get two people who live next door to each other to agree on where to go to dinner. Now you've got two people with a lot of power. Which one of them? It's going to be one, and what's going to be two? You're going to have the same problem.
Yeah.
And anyway, who are these people? Why do we want them running everything?
Mm-hmm.
Like now, you know, you've got people with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the next question was, what do you think about kids who don't have a home, but they go into places where the state takes care of them? They don't have a foster home or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah. Well, wouldn't it be better, since parents can be a child's worst enemy, to let them have the state? I said, the state is going to take care of my kids? No. I don't care what the state is. I'll do it. I said, that's straight out of Nazis.
Yeah.
And I read in the book about Fauci, it was really frightening, where they did have a place like that.
Yeah.
And the pharmacies were doing, like Mengele, were doing tests on little kids to see how the medicine worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the book, the Kennedy book, because, you know, they won't have them on TV anymore, except Fox, the Newsman.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I saw this little girl, beautiful little child, 5 years old. And I talked to her for a while, and she was so pleasant. And I came back, I don't remember how long it took him, and she wasn't there. So I said to the person, I said, what happened to that little girl, you know? Oh, they gave her a shot, and she had a stroke. And then she couldn't walk. This is testing pharmacy.
Yeah.
And then she died.
Mm.
I read that and I thought, whoa, we're missing a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed. What they needed, somebody like Adler or Max could talk to you sensibly and make you think it's going on out there. People who come and say, you know, I'm, you know, little Fauci. I know everything. I'm what did he say? I'm medicine or something. I'm the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's diabolical.
Yeah.
So where's the thing? And how long can we stay like this?
I don't know.
We were smarter. You know, they asked the ancient Greeks, of which I am proud, you know, and I have some French, because there was a town right by my father. He was a Spartan.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was born here, but they came from they raised bees or something. So I don't know if I'll be going up there. But what was I going to say? What was that? Yeah, well, that's nice.
That happens to me all the time.
I had a point.
Yeah. I've had points too, and then they just go away before I can get them out.
Yeah, that really bothers me because I thought it was going to be I started out with Sparta.
Yep.
Oh, they asked the Greeks, do you think, the ancients, do you think when people read what you're writing, because, they had the same trouble trying to convince oligarchies, this is the people are going to vote. What?
Mm-hmm.
I won't be in charge, because they had
Yeah.
all the moolah and all that. And so they gave him trouble. It wasn't easy. It was no easy sell. And so the Greeks, they asked Aristotle and all that, what do you think about all that you've written? Do you think this is going to help people as time goes on and they read it? They're going to wake up. And he said, I doubt it.
Yeah.
May not be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to change.
Yeah.
People are, unfortunately or fortunately, we have pretty much stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think we were smarter back then.
Well, I think we
survived.
We had less to deal with. I mean, you didn't have to worry about, world governments. You didn't have to worry about atomic weapons or nuclear weapons or COVID or, 50 million other little things. COVID, AIDS, the flu. It just never stops. If you don't read the newspaper, you're actually doing much better because
That's
you don't
right.
have these false alarms. But
they're going to try it, but I don't think too many people are going to put it back on. They won't.
Mm-hmm.
That's my belief. People are too angry because they already said they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I going to put it back on?
Yeah.
And the medicine was only 3 months out.
Mm-hmm.
Those vaccines, they tried for a year and the results were not that great. That's in Kennedy's book. Then 9 months, then 6 months, and then they agreed on 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a friend that's 82 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
She never had. She'd had a stroke at one time, but she's doing very well. But she's, I'm not taking it. I don't know what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2, but I will not take any more boosters, and it's all to me money. It's all about money.
I heard somewhere, or I saw somewhere, that they had found that people that had taken more shots were more likely to end up in the hospital.
Yes.
Now that's kind of weird.
It's in the book. If people that didn't take any shots were better off health-wise than the ones that took them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that little girl. I don't know what they gave her, but we don't know what's in these things.
Yeah. Well, we never know any of these things actually, but I think back to my husband. He was desperate to get the shot because he had heart and lung disease.
Oh,
actually, yes. When he died of heart, liver, and kidney failure, but he did have heart and lung disease. So he was desperate to get the COVID shot, and he finally did. And he had the 2 boosters. And, fortunately, he didn't get COVID. But I'll tell you, that just knocked the energy out of him. And I thought...
I don't want any more because I don't like what they're saying about it.
Yeah. Well, now they're saying you might...
I don't trust them either. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you up and around in your house? I thought you were getting up.
No, I was just moving. No, I don't know if I'd take another shot, but I've had 3. And I'm thinking I had 3 shots in a year. That seems like an awful lot of vaccination.
Yeah.
But I'm not a medical doctor, so I probably shouldn't say that. But
yes, but what they found out in the CDC, I can't go with it. I can't, because it did say that people who didn't touch were actually healthier.
Yeah.
And they made it light that kids, like 18-year-olds, heart attacks. When they made, it's very few. It was not very few.
Mm-hmm.
There was a doctor from Johns Hopkins that I used to listen to that I believed.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say, no, it isn't. And they won't turn over records. Why not?
Yeah.
And Fauci didn't do much better under HIV either.
Mm.
He
Well,
he
yeah,
costs people lives too. There.
yeah, HIV is a whole other ballgame, because that's something that can be controlled through behavior.
Yes.
I mean, if you happen to breathe the air where someone coughed a few minutes ago and get COVID, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
But to get AIDS, you have to have been involved in something, and so it's a behavior issue,
Right.
as opposed to a real disease. To me, COVID, you can walk through a room and somebody who walked through a few minutes before, I don't know if this is true, coughs and the stuff's in the air and you breathe it. I don't know, maybe you get it. So, I mean, I suppose you could say it's behavior. If you just stay home permanently, you won't get it. But who wants to live like that? Yeah.
People got fat and depressed. But to me, the thing they should be checking is the antibodies. If you have the antibodies, go home. I won't give you a shot. That's what they should check.
Yeah.
Not, okay, let's give you another one.
Yeah.
And Pfizer makes more money.
Yeah.
I never, it was a shot. That's it. That's the quality of life they want. It's not to live a good life. It's to have money, make profit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what a shallow, horrible life that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how it is. I mean, all these Nike and all that, it's profit. Mm-hmm. And the funniest thing was somebody said, I said, how far do you think they're going to go? But all of this is like critical thinking. And when I hear something that's absurd, which I hear a lot, I'm like, what? Well, they tried to do it with Martha Stewart. Did you hear about that? No. I may not say it all right, but she made a drink and she called it Antarctic ice or something. Mm-hmm. Because it came from what the Titanic hit, iceberg.
Yeah.
And it relates to that's the ice she's using in her drinks. That's how it's labeled. So, well, they got on her. Mm-hmm. You're using an iceberg's ice when they're melting like crazy, and you're using it for your drinks. And I said, I have heard. How can you not laugh? I mean, it's the worst I've heard. I mean, it's the most crazy. And of course, she did slap him back with something.
Yeah.
But, and the other, and they're not melting at a rate that's strange. And because polar bears don't have any place to go, there are more polar bears now than ever. Mm-hmm. And so they tell you half truths. Yeah. And I said to somebody, you hear that and you don't go look it up. You just repeat it. Why don't you look it up and see if it could be true? Well, the polar bears are actually the only bears that actually hunt people. They hunt people? Yep, they're the only ones. They're so cute. Yeah. Yeah, they may be cute, but they'll eat you. More than a grizzly? Yeah. From what I understand, they actually hunt you. They'll track you. I don't know. How do you know that? I'm watching one of those nature programs. Yeah, but I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'd heard. I heard that they are the worst, and then grizzly would come after them, and then black them. But so you never know. But it's a crazy world, and it does not live by the rules of logic anymore. No. Well, there is common sense and reason, which is what this is based on. Mm-hmm. And we all have emotions, and some more than ever, some more than others. Mm-hmm. But you also cannot live without them because they can teach you something. Yeah. So that was always my gripe about reason. Mm-hmm. Humans are not truly reasonable creatures. Mm-hmm. I had a Jewish doctor that I was very close to. Mm-hmm. And he was taught in school at the University of Chicago by Adler. Mm-hmm. He said, I've got one thing to tell you. Humans are not reasonable creatures. Mm-hmm. So our emotions get in the way. What? Our emotions and our passions get in the way. Mm-hmm. So I suppose if you can control those, but they also teach you something, because without a certain emotion, you're not going to have empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy.
Oh, yeah.
My husband used to always make things philosophical. He said, but and it was true. He said, you have to be careful about empathy. You may be giving too much to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just give it.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you give it, to what extent, and
Yeah.
when it's time to shut up or change,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, well, what time? Oh, you're an hour ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what time it is here.
It's 8:26.
Oh, yeah. So I do have to get going.
Yeah.
I've certainly enjoyed this.
Well, I always enjoy you. And I'm looking at, I'm in that business on the side. What skin you have. It's just wonderful.
But
My goodness, you must be good inside too. Because it didn't come out on your face. What?
Wrinkles here. Look at these wrinkles.
Oh, I got some greens.
A scarf on here, and it's just my skin sagging.
Well, you do put your cream on there too, don't you?
No, I don't, because I had throat cancer, so I don't put anything near my throat. So
you have throat cancer and you can't use a cream down there?
Yeah, really? I probably could, but I don't feel comfortable doing it. Oh. I'd rather stay alive and look like I have a scarf on.
Oh, well, you've got that Lauren Bacall kind of voice, the deep. Is that what that was?
It was from the throat cancer, yeah. My voice changed. I had...
Why did you get it? Did they tell you? Nobody knows?
No, it just comes. Some people get it, some people don't. So I had 36 radiation treatments. I think that's what did the voice in. And I had 6 chemos. I tolerated both well. The chemo was the radiation made me tired, but not horribly so. And the chemo made me shake. My hands would shake, but other than that, it wasn't bad.
You really are a trooper. You really are.
Thank you. But my voice did change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now I have that sound. Anyway, I have to get going.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Yes, and
I mean, yeah, we could just have him take the whole thing and then splice it anywhere he wants. I don't care.
Yep.
But I mean, it's nice. It's just nice to talk to a thinking person who you can have a good discussion, even if you disagree with them.
Yep, that's okay.
That's hard to do today. Once they disagree with you, they're off left field somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have a great night. Take care.
Yep. Well,
you're going to be there tomorrow? You're going to be there tomorrow?
Yeah. And let me just end in prayer, and I'll see you tomorrow. My phone is ringing. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
We go the other way,
Oh, okay.
We go to the right first, and that's another story.
Okay.
About that's another change.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not going to worry about that.
No. Alrighty. Well, it was talk to you.
Thank you. Yes. Nice to talk to you too. Very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.